evening. Welcome to the Laughing Monkey Music Show. Today we have Paul. Paul is the guitarist from the awesome group The Answer. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on. Good to be here.
Well, as I was saying before, I've been a fan of you for a long time, and you guys had been off the scene for a little bit. And I was kind of like, actually, in the past year, kind of looking for you guys, like what's going on. So this is great. We're talking now. You've got a new single out, Blood Brothers, and
Yep.
Sundowners is coming out in St. Patrick's Day, 17th of
Yep.
March, right?
March 17, yeah. It's there's a free Shamrock, Guinness, and Jameson for everyone who buys it on the 17th.
Nice. So let's talk about that. So you guys had a break, I guess, right? Or as
Yeah.
Ross and Rachel would call me, you're on a break. Little friends there joke. So is just you guys were just tired when you're on the road and just needed like a real just break from the band type of thing to recharge type of deal.
It was partly that, and it was partly kind of enforced just by the way the band was going. I think we've been going on, that would have been 17 years together.
Mm,
And maybe we kind of we peaked before that, and it felt like things were on the downward
slide.
spiral, which is
Well,
hard to admit to yourself, or it's not nice to hear, but it was kind of going that way a little bit, if I'm
well,
honest.
no. Well, and the things I'm not looking for dirt with the band. I think one of the things I like to talk about in the show is the reality of how hard it is. Just, I mean, you enjoy what you do as a band and musicians, but it's a lot of work and a lot of
Hmm.
changes in life happen to have real life things happening and then go up on stage and perform and provide a fun show for everybody when there's other things in life that are going on, the dynamics of different shows and bands and touring and family and kids and wives and spouses and you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
it's important that people realize that when their favorite artists put out an album, buy it. They come by, go see them when they might not come back again. They put out some merchandise, buy their shirts because they get more money from the shirts than they do from the shows half the time, especially more than they get from the albums. So it's more about me just saying, hey, people realize that there's a lot more going on here, and it's a little more
yeah,
special than it used to be. I think it wasn't these behind the music rock god days have kind of changed now. You know,
yeah. Oh, it's definitely a labor of love. Now, if they keep doing it, you have to love it and work hard, or
yeah.
it's not going to happen.
No, it's not. And you have musical roots anyway, because your dad has been a lifelong
Hmm.
musician too, career musician. So I mean, you really out of the gate
Yeah,
grew up
yeah,
with it.
he played trumpet, trombone, sang a bit in a band called the Freshmen, who were a show band in Ireland, kind of in the 60s, early 70s. So he did that before I was born. He was doing that, and he did a bit of management and bit of session work as well after that. But he was always, of course, it meant we had a great record collection. A lot of people, musicians would come and stay in the house, so that was kind of commonplace for me growing up. But when it came to my turn, where it looked like maybe I might go down that path too, he was
Yeah.
kind of trying to get me to go a different way. Um, I guess because he knew the pitfalls and how hard it is, and maybe he was trying to discourage me. And if I really wanted to do it and had what it takes, I would do it anyway, regardless.
Right.
I like to think that that was his reasoning,
I'm
but
sure.
he was trying
Did
to
he?
get me to do
Did he?
something else.
Did he get to see any of your success?
He did, yeah. He actually passed away in 2009, but he did get to see us on that AC/DC tour we did when we came to Dublin. He came
Oh,
down to that show, so
how awesome is
yeah, he
that,
got
huh?
to. Yeah, it was great. It was great. The whole family, well, everyone's family was down at that one, so it was kind of everyone got
Right.
to share in the success and watch their kids on stage. It was yeah, it was a nice time. It was a nice time.
Especially with your old man being a musician and the whole thing. I mean, it's just a double points there for
Yeah,
you to kind of
yeah,
get that little
360.
thing. Yeah, it's AC/DC. I'm performing for the homeland. This is it. That's
Yeah,
pretty cool.
you're backstage. There's free booze. You're in the green room. It's not so bad, huh? Pops.
No,
Yeah, he enjoyed it. He enjoyed it.
that's cool. It's really cool. You have you are a riff guy. A lot of good riffs. That's what
Hmm.
your riffs. Each of you guys, obviously, the instrumentalists, you ride the band in your own way. And the fact you guys are all together as one group through the whole
Hmm.
thing is fantastic to begin with. Um, But to that point, each your riffs are really a big part of the songs. Is that a big thing with you? You write a riff first and then you bring it to the band, or how's that process go?
Um, yeah, sometimes like that. Kind of. I guess we write. The first way we ever wrote songs was jamming in the room
Mhm.
together, and just something exciting would happen, a riff or a nice change or something rhythmic, and we'd vibe on that a bit. If Cormac was in the room too, he would sing some stuff over the top of it, and then we take that away and kind of finesse it a little bit and see where it could go. So the first way was just spontaneous in the room and the chemistry between the three or four of us. Then it did develop more into you work on riffs and structures and arrangements yourself
Mhm.
and bring them in to the band and see how it works. And maybe someone else would have an idea to take it somewhere else. Um, or someone else would bring in, Cormac might bring in a song. It'd be a bit more simplistic, and then we try and make that, a bit have some of the, have a riff to it.
Yeah, a little
Try
more
and
meat to it.
yeah, take it a bit further away, give it some more angles and stuff. And James, Mickey as well. All of us kind of bring stuff in and see what happens. Sometimes it's
Oh, you're
finished.
all great, as musicians
Sometimes
separately.
it's yeah. There's well, we've worked at it a long time now, so we know what each other's good at, and our strengths and weaknesses. I think complement each other. That's probably why it worked for as long as it has.
Hmm. You guys are the original, like literally, you guys all got together from the very beginning.
Yeah, yeah. hmm So
I mean, as a
it's
musician, and you've seen other musicians or bands, do you realize how fantastically incredible and bananas that is? That for four people to get together out of the gate,
we,
like not have to go through a million musicians and like stay together and actually all be talented and be able to write together.
yeah, it's something you probably take until it ends. The first sort of break we had, it's something you took for granted.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I've seen a lot of bands come and go through the
Yeah.
years. That were starting the same time as us, and some lasted 2 years, some lasted 2 or 3 albums, but there's not many of them are still around today. Only a
Right. Well,
handful.
the fact you, as musicians, though, too, you guys didn't have to go through five different singers and three different drummers,
No,
and
no.
you guys like right out of the gate. You guys like this is it. We all work together
Uh,
musically and personally, and it just works. And that's
yeah,
you know what I mean.
it's kind of, I wouldn't say by design. It was lucky more than by design. But I mean, with Mickey, I played with him since I was 15, maybe, and
Mhm.
we were always on the lookout for. We had maybe a band when we were very young, and then we kind of, we still played together and still wrote together, but didn't have a band as such for probably until we were like 19, 20.
Mhm.
And James was a drummer we knew since I was 14, maybe, and always wanted to play with him. Never had the opportunity because he was, a sought after musician. So he was always in a band. So when he became available, that that was an opportunity to take. And we put some songs together around that time, and some friends suggested this guy Cormac Neeson would be the perfect singer. Didn't know him. I actually went to the same school as him, but I didn't know him. And I tried to find him, but he was in America. He was in Wildwood for the summer. Just he's 18, 19, going away for the first time. So he was there for 3 months. Couldn't find him, and I went back to started university, and I'm playing a Brazilian music ensemble every Thursday.
Yeah.
And I noticed one day on the notice board, you put your name on, and I noticed the name Cormac Neeson. I thought, is that the guy? Could it be? And I went to maybe been there a month, and didn't find him. Walked in one day, one seat empty, sat down. Guy beside me gave me a guitar and goes, "Will you play that? I'm not great at that. I'll sing or something or do something else." So I was talking away to him, getting on well. And I thought I'll just ask him. Maybe he knows this guy. So you don't know
Yeah.
Cormac Neeson, do you? And he goes, "I do actually, yeah. Know him quite well. I'm Cormac Neeson." And so that's how we met him. he came out that weekend, and God, I think that was 1999. So he's he's been there ever since.
That's amazing. It is so funny
Yeah,
that such a little tight thing right out of the gate. And he's got a voice like your albums though. And I remember hearing him, I'm like, God, they only have like at that point a couple albums. I'm like, you guys sounded like a band that have been playing on the road in the '70s for years. Like
yeah. Well,
you already had your act together by that time.
I think we did it the old way, and I think we gigged around sort of Ireland just for four
Mhm.
years, which I mean was probably frustrating at the time because you'd hope within a year, 2 years maybe you'd have a record deal and you'd be on
Yeah.
tour and doing all that stuff. But it took a bit longer than I hoped. But we'd remember someone saying you need a 5 year plan when you start a band, and if it doesn't work out in that 5 years, well then if you worked hard and give it your best shot, then it's time to move on. So kind of had that time period on it. We did it in four and got the record deal and I got out there. So we had a bit of adversity at the beginning that we pushed through. Did a lot of strange gigs and some cover gigs and stuff like that. To really kind of cut our teeth and get those foundations strong.
What is the scene there like back then? Like, because obviously being from America, I have no idea what the music scene is over in Ireland to begin with. Like, what was it like to be a rock band then? Was it flooded? Was it like I'm gonna say, like in Canada, you can be in a band, but then they have to tour. They have to drive like really far between towns because there's like huge spaces. Like,
Yeah.
like how is it for? Is there a lot of places to play in Ireland, or how's the scene there?
Um, I wouldn't say there's a lot of places to play, but it's not too bad. It's probably in Belfast where we started. I guess there's four or five at that time. There's four or five gigs you could do.
Hmm.
Um, some of them were, showcasey kind of things that you'd have to know the right people to get on the bill.
Hmm.
Then there were some gigs you put on and promote yourself, which were easier to get, but five people could turn up. Um, and then I guess we thought it was a long distance to drive down to Dublin to do a show. But I guess compared to Canada, it's not that far really. I remember we did a gig in Dublin. It was the first it was a big deal, and I had to get my dad's van and get all the gear in that. And we drove down. It was like the biggest thing that ever happened to us was for like 2 hours down the road.
Yeah, when I heard I talked to some Canadian artists, they talk about touring in Canada because even like the U.S. is different. U.S. there's a lot of places to play, depending on the
Hmm.
markets for music, what kind of music in before COVID, of course. But there's a lot. But then you start thinking outside of the world of God forbid, thinking outside of the American market. It's different, not
Hmm.
just economics and style, and then of course just the geography is so much different
Yeah, yeah.
for a lot of other countries musically. Where there's hot spots where
Hmm.
everyone is, and there's these big old spaces where it's not enough to stop in a small little thing, unless you're
Yeah,
doing gas money. Big gas money stop is what it would be,
yeah.
type of
Well,
deal. There's a lot of
probably.
bands that have done that.
I mean, for us, it's I guess Belfast and Dublin were good places. There's a lot of places to play there. When you go further south, it's maybe one gig per city you can do.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's gas money. If you do the full tour of the island, it's kind of Dublin, Belfast, and then gas money, one show per time if you're lucky.
That's funny. So you guys played, you guys did really big, you had some great albums, and then the 2017 is when you guys kind of took your break, you kind of cooled your
Yeah.
jets and kind of stepped away. At that
Hmm.
point, it was just like we're gonna just like put the brakes on temporarily, do some separate things, and then revisit it later on when we've kind of decompressed type of deal. And then of course
Uh,
COVID came too.
yeah, yeah. That was it. Yeah. I think at the time we'd just done the Solace record and we'd
Mhm.
done kind of three tours on that. Um, and it did okay, but it didn't, I think in terms of sales and the shows, it didn't match what we wanted.
Mhm.
Um, and it was becoming, yeah, I just had my first child then. Uh, the other
Oh
guys all
wow.
had kids. So maybe it was kind of pushing us in that direction to take a break, and we all we all decided to do that. I kind of, yeah, we thought we'd come back to it, but when you stop something like that, after that long, it
Yeah.
feels like it's never coming back. I certainly, I thought it was never coming back. Sitting in, January 2018, sort of took the break, Christmas,
Yeah.
sitting down, sort of planning what the future was going to be, and the answer was not, top of that list.
Yeah.
Um, just because it didn't seem realistic. But lo and behold, uh, even less than 2 years later, I got a call from the manager. He said, "You've got a offer of a deal or a label in Australia. Um, just reaching out to see if people are still into doing it." I said, "Yeah, let's give it a try." And everyone was in up for the idea. We met that August. Remember the first rehearsal back. It was thought this isn't going to work. We're too rusty. We've been gone too long, and but we kept going. With I think we had maybe 2 or 3 kind of writing sessions before COVID came,
Hmm.
and the session we did just before COVID came, it was starting to things were starting to cook again. The
Yeah.
band was starting to it was in the pocket. The songs were starting. There was 1 or 2 songs I thought these could get on any album, um,
Hmm.
and things were chemistry relations within the band were great, and we were ready to go. And then COVID hit. That kind of put a full stop on everything. And of course, then everyone's thinking, when will this end? Will it end? Initially, it
Right.
seemed like it'd be 2, 3 weeks. And then, you get to June, and it's like, will this ever end? Will the record label want to do an album again? Or will there be money? Will people be able to go to shows? So there's a lot of uncertainty. But we kept writing. Uh, just kind of like we're talking now. We do it that way, one
Yeah.
on one, play ideas, take them away, and get them a bit further down the line. And then I think we were able to meet once a year, to get through all the red tape. And
Yeah.
we kind of 2 sessions, one in 2020, one in 2021, and then we kind of did the album in April this year. So yes, it brought a sense of jeopardy to it all.
Jeez, it doesn't seem like a lot of time spent together either. It's pretty amazing
Yeah,
to
yeah,
get back together. Because it doesn't sound like obviously like it's a disjointed effort. Actually, this one feels more like it picks up after the album before your last one, because your last one felt a little darker to me. And even
yeah,
the
yeah.
video, it almost and then you guys vanish. I was like, was you guys just like kind of veering off and experimenting, and everyone's kind of going different ways, or was it just what I'm saying? Because as a fan
Hmm.
watching you, and the music's good, you guys didn't sound like it wasn't less quality, but that like the video in the woods compared to like
Yeah,
you guys
yeah.
rocking out and everything, it's just night and day. Topics,
Uh,
it's what it
yeah.
felt like. And
But
this one feels like it's a return back to just rock and roll, at least the single.
I think so, yeah. Well, the single's pretty representative, I think, of the rest of the album. Yeah, to go back to Solace, it was definitely darker and more experimental, and that was um kind of the way it was made because we'd just come off the road. We toured Raise a Little Hell in America, supporting Whitesnake that summer,
Mhm.
and we straight away started writing Solace, and it, it was made kind of, with loops and kind of not everyone was in the same room at the same time.
Yeah.
Sometimes we Cormac and me, or me and James, so you'd be taking drums and chopping them up, and Mickey would be doing the bass in London and send it over. So it was kind of more experimental way of making the records.
Mhm.
And it was a dark time as well. I think maybe subconsciously we knew that it was kind of things were coming
Come
to
out.
an end in the future.
Well, as a fan, though, you know what I'm saying? Like, you guys, there was only, and of newer rock bands, there's very few, like, rock bands that were younger coming out at that time. And it's
Yeah.
still like that.
Hmm.
There's only handfuls of rock bands that are coming out nowadays that are younger rock bands. You know, you guys were one of them at that time. And all of a sudden, this next album came out. Like, you're like, oh, the answer, I'm going to get a good rock and roll album. Some great
Mm.
riffs, some vocals, some good strong rhythm. I mean, nice. And then this album comes out, and you're like, oh, it's not a bad album by any means. I do listen to it, but it's not. It
Mhm.
wasn't the album I was expecting from you guys because you
Yeah,
guys were my
yeah,
rock and roll band. And I was like, oh, okay, a little different, you know.
yeah.
And then next thing you know, I was like, all right, where are we going with this one? This is a new adventure. And then the adventure ended. I was like, oh, well,
Yeah,
that was a kind of a weird end. So,
it was yeah, it was frustrating. I think
so people check out the
again,
album too. Check out the album. It's a good album, people. I'm
yeah.
not saying it's bad. It is good. It's just in the linear world of rock albums, that was just a quick left turn, you know.
It was things on it. Things worked better than some songs work better than others, and some approaches on that work better than others. And that tour, we kind of got to see, from the audience and ourselves, which parts worked the best.
Mhm.
And there was maybe a hope to go back in sooner than 5 years and or 7 years now, uh, and update that formula,
Mhm.
make it a better solace. But we didn't get that chance. Sundowners is more what you would expect from the first five records, of course.
Yeah.
But we hope we've refined it a little bit and improved the formula. Certain,
I,
I think so.
I think all bands should experiment. There's nothing wrong with it. But just to end that, to guys be like the album, and I'm like, all right, that was where I got thrown because like, all right, cool. There's a lot of my favorite bands have different albums that are like, you know, an album is more experimental or different, and I still listen to it, but not as much as others or whatever. I'll go through phases.
Hmm.
But that was it. I was like, that was a weird explanation point. So, but as you guys aren't in a band and you guys aren't playing out, you guys have all had to go into different types of careers. Obviously, it's self-made millionaires.
Hmm.
Effectively, how is it going to change? For to be touring videos, you guys all won't live close to each other at this point either. What can fans expect to see, like from you guys, like the performances or videos or what? Like what's going to be there for them coming up?
Well, the record's going to come in March 17th. We're going to start touring, I think 2 days before in the UK. So we're going to tour through March and April. Uh, it'll be UK, Europe, Germany, France, Belgium, Holland for the moment. There's plans to go to the US and possibly Australia, Japan as well. And there's big festival season coming up in the summer too, but that'll mostly be in Europe. Then just before we're doing a new kind of a single before Christmas. I think it might be out right now actually, called "Want You to Love Me." It's just a lyric video, not a full release. And there'll be a new video for, I think it's "Living on the Line." Be the single for just before the record comes out. We've made a video for that in Paris, where I live now, thankfully. So the guys all got to come to me for once, and spent 2 3 days here hanging out, and I made the video. So that
Do
was
the other
good
three
fun.
guys live closer to each other?
There's two still in Ireland.
Okay.
They're where they were always. Mickey lives in Southampton now, which is kind of just south of London. So I mean, again, he's kind of been there a long time too. But and I've been here since 2018. So yeah, it's kind of scattered around a little bit. If you told me, 10 years ago we'd be doing that, I would say that will not work. You have to be in the same
Right.
locale, all the time to work on ideas and just the logistics of everything.
I
Um,
think being an early band, though, I think you can't establish, in my opinion, sorry to me to step over you, the delay here. I think you guys establish yourselves, you cut your teeth together. Now, with the technology of Zoom or Skype or whoever,
mhm.
you have real time experience and you have the digital world, you can do it to connect and you can still tour. You already have your experiences, so it can still work, but you can't naturally become a young band together first out of
Yes,
the
yeah.
gate and be in different. I guess you can. I guess who might say you can't, but it feels like it would be harder organically to really become, that get that
Mhm.
bond together, that what I mean, to gel together without cutting your teeth together in the clubs starting out.
Yeah, or even just probably another thing we take for granted, like the just the time you spend together socially.
Hmm.
And we used to rehearse, and afterwards we have a few drinks, play our favorite records,
Yep.
watch Led Zeppelin DVDs, all that stuff. And I think through doing that you get to know each other better, quicker,
Hmm.
and you let your guard down, reveal more about yourself, and that then comes into the creative process as well.
Yeah.
And if you're, I don't know, if you're it's a rainy Monday night in somewhere in Middle America, and you're playing to five people, and you need to pull it together, like
Yeah.
you've got that connection with the four of you to do it.
It's good having four best friends with you or three best friends with
Yeah,
you.
exactly. Yeah. Whereas I can imagine, if your motivation is to get a record and be top of the charts and be on the big tours, and then you end up someplace like that, you may not stick around too long.
Right. And it's funny because I hear this a lot. A lot of any size musicians from new bands. A lot of the bigger musicians will say they'd rather have somebody who's a decent musician and a good person
Hmm.
to be in the road with and a good, you know what I mean, than like a supreme master who's just a jerk
Yeah,
to be on the
yeah,
road with because it's so many moving parts. The other 23 hours are the cliche 23 hours are 23 or 22 and a half hours or whatever it's going to be. You're with that person,
yeah,
and you
yeah,
don't need that rock star. You need a friend. You need a
yeah,
friend that you can get mad at the next day and then be, I'm sorry. And then you can be like, what's going on with your family? Because you're sad. I can help you. You need that to last as long as you guys. That's why you guys are back together again because you didn't. And you're all original members. I mean, that's insane. There's no news flashes of controversy. You guys, no, we're just tired. We needed a break. We're back together doing it. We never, that's why you guys. I think a big part of why you're still together.
yeah. I think so. Yeah, definitely touring. It needs to be a family, and your family's going to know you sometimes, so
Yeah.
you need that give and take. And one thing I've noticed when recording with
Mm-hmm.
producers, the guys who are good, it's it's not about being a genius. It's not about being Roy Thomas Baker or some guy that's a technical genius and a musical
Mm-hmm.
genius. It's someone that's a genius with people and that knows what makes them tick,
Yeah.
knows when to push them, when to step back. Um,
Like a
and you,
psychologist.
exactly that's it. Yeah, those are the guys that I think that hang around and are revered, and certainly that I would want to work with and can get the best material out of you.
That's very telling you notice that because it's very important. I always thought that, and I've talked to some producers. The first thing I've asked them is like, I go, "What do you think the biggest strength is? Important thing, knowing people, reading people. Besides technical, you get that coming in.
Mm,
Anyone can pretty much learn technical on some level.
yeah.
Then you get the feel and how to apply it. That's where you start becoming kind of crazy. Roy Thomas Baker. I hear a lot of cocaine stories, so I don't know. I can't go there with him. Never enough cocaine to work with him, but to the point of the great recordings he's done. But on a serious note, like you need to read people, and each player is different. And then when everyone's vulnerable, and each musician in the band, when they're in a studio, can be different people to each other because they're
Hmm.
all vulnerable, and that's a lot to be like the middle person and kind of move people around to get the best out without hurting everybody's feelings. So it sounds exhausting, really. It's something being a parent. If four kids that hate each other or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
worst, the worst, the worst vacation ever. You know, I have to turn around in the back one more time, you guys. Just play your riff. Um, I'm excited for you guys coming back. I think it's really cool. And so you're on Golden Robot Records for this album. That and
Hmm.
Mark reached out to you. It's fantastic. I think he's been saving rock and roll. He's one of the leading labels right now that's pulling out all the good rock bands. You know,
Yeah. Hmm.
it's fantastic. The I don't know, stable, such a weird phrase, but the amount of artists that are rock and roll based that he's given a chance to, and it's not making them write anything but your own stuff,
Yes,
you
yeah.
know? So that's pretty awesome. Um, but this is exciting. What about where can people go and see you, connect with you guys, like, the social media? Because do you guys have a website yet going?
I think that we probably stopped the website in 2017. But probably
It's there technically. It's out there. It's in the like the
yeah,
web
the
archives or something.
domain's still there. Yeah.
No, like it was like the Wayback Machine or something. I think that's was it the one. There's a website that like archives everything,
Ah, okay.
and it
Okay.
has it on there. I've actually tripped onto it. I don't know how I found it. A rabbit hole, if you may. But
It's
it's out
there.
there. I'm like, is there anything current, please, for the fans?
Um, Mostly probably Instagram. We're pretty active on that. The Answer Rock. You can get me the Answer PM on there too, and same Facebook, the Answer
Okay,
Rock.
okay.
I'm not sure if the website. I will have to check. Like websites have died, but the answer.ie, it's out there somewhere.
It's interesting because yeah, there are two. I'm gonna say this with websites and releasing albums. There's almost two separate schools. Like with websites, you do what people are doing Instagram and Facebook, and then I'll have like a link tree, and in the link tree page, we'll have like links to their socials and then links to the albums, and or then use YouTube as their video site. So link to their channel page on YouTube, or they have a website with everything in it, which is as a fan, it's easy. I enjoy it, but they gotta make sure they have somebody behind that machine to maintain it. Other becomes like a weird MySpace ghost town. And then if that's the case, you're better off just doing a link tree on those socials. It's like when people do artists who they're releasing an album or they're just doing single every month or two until they have enough singles out, and then it gets packaged together as an album. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's like there's just
Yeah.
really so many different avenues now as an artist to release yourself on media, your media, and yourself as a band on the socials.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well, it's changed a lot since
since you
since we
guys left, I think,
started.
right?
Yeah, even since we left. Yeah, it's
You
crazy.
know, it is crazy. And Twitter would have been a thing for you guys, but now everyone's kind of like, well, I don't know if we should use Twitter right now. Twitter's up in the air for that. It used to be the
Yeah.
best for bands, really. Um, this has been great, man. I appreciate you coming on. Um,
Oh, thanks for having me.
I'm excited. I'm excited to hear the album. Single's great. I'll put all the links you said underneath on podcast and on YouTube channel so people check you out, support the band. In the meantime, check the old stuff out if you haven't heard of them. If you haven't, I don't know what to say. They're a good band. The four good blokes from Ireland. The other four blokes from Ireland you may know, but you guys are a good rock band and a bunch of nice guys. So welcome back to the world of rock. We're glad you're back. So thank you, man.
Thanks, Sean. Really appreciate it.